Hi, you're watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Still to come on our program today. A Chinese costume drama has taken the country and Asia by storm. How has this Qing Dynasty period piece succeeded where others flopped? You're watching World Insight with me, Tian Wei. The program is coming to you Monday to Friday on CGTN. A Chinese costume drama has gone viral across the country and probably even beyond the border, attracting about 5.6 billion views since its release last month. It's also garnered the greatest ever overseas fan base for a Chinese series. Before we find out how this kind of drama hooked so many people and what's really behind its fever, let's take a look at this.
The story of Yanxi, a 70-episode drama exclusively shown on iQIYI, has gone viral across the country. According to an online technique and statistics provider, the drama has attracted an average of over 130 million views per episode. The series tells the story of how a wise and resourceful young palace maid becomes the master of Yanxi Palace and is ultimately promoted to be the highest-ranking imperial concubine, mother of the future emperor. And the online drama is spreading even further. It's now available in more than 70 markets globally. Hong Kong TVB recently bought the distribution rights for the show in Hong Kong, Macau, Singapore, and Malaysia. Similar distribution agreements have been made with TV channels and platforms in South Korea, Japan, Thailand, Indonesia, and Vietnam. However, the success of the drama is not an accident. Immense efforts have been put into its production. The costume design in the drama, in particular, has been lauded by many viewers. Based on historical documents and antiques housed in Beijing Palace Museum, all of the adornments are created according to the preference of concubines, and some are even intangible cultural heritage pieces.
For more discussion on the popular Qing Dynasty costume drama that is attracting so many fans from here in China and around the world, we are joined in Beijing by Professor Teng Jimeng from Beijing Foreign Studies University. Professor Teng, what a pleasure to have you. He, of course, is a freelance movie critic and cultural commentator. Also joining us here, Liu Lu, Executive Vice President of Dinsen International Media. That's a company that's producing TV dramas here in China. Also joining us on the phone, we have from Riga, Latvia, Mike Bastian, professor of Southampton University. We're going to talk to him a bit later in the program. But first of all, wow, 5.6 billion, Professor Teng. Have you ever seen that number before?
That's phenomenal. No, never before.
Yes, have you watched it?
I watched some part of it, and I couldn't finish all of them. I'm too busy.
So it's a 70-episode TV drama. You know, it's hard to imagine how people follow from episode 1 to the last one, but actually a lot of people do. What is really behind this? Explain to our international viewers, particularly Professor Teng, what's really behind this?
Well, first thing first, I think the Chinese audiences have been loving this kind of historical pieces, especially costume pieces that look beautiful. I mean, you have to be beautiful to be watched by, to be loved by.
If we could play how beautiful they are, some footages of, you know, the TV drama itself, our viewers will have a view of that. Like
so it is designed to be lovely, beautiful, and so designed to be binged watched. I mean, you watch all these, basically, almost all the episodes, because now they're on iQIYI. And so, in this case, it was the exotic location, like the location we have back here, and also the beautiful costumes. And lastly, I think this very scheming...
I hope we could play some of those footages to let people see how beautiful they are, if the producer is listening to me right now. Okay, what about for you?
I really like the story itself. It's so different than other TV dramas I have seen before. It's especially the protagonist. She's so different. She has that tit-for-tat personality in that TV show, all the way from episode 1 to episode 70. It's just, you know, magnificent.
So the young viewers like infighting. the court infighting, the infighting among all these concubines and low-ranking servants, so that they can eventually elevate it up to the very impressed gouger sort of thing. And so it's all about fighting from the lower level of the ladder, up to this very higher echelon of power.
Probably you guys, as cultural critics, could have your views, but what about those who have been involved in the producing of this drama, some of the actors and actresses? In fact, we talked to some of those through social media, the story of Yanxi Palace on our Sina Weibo. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
Hey everyone, I'm Jiang Zixing, who's Mingyu in Yanxi Palace. I'm so glad that you like my work. To see more story behind the scenes, please log on World Insights with Tian Wei, 10:15 p.m. in CGTN.
Great advertising. Yeah.
She's very sweet, of course, talking to our viewers. She is playing one of those working in the palace, in fact. But Professor Teng, you know, you've seen so many dramas depicting that part of history, and yet people wonder why this one stands out. You talk about the personality, you talk about the costume, but it seems that it's a lot of things putting together that made its success.
Well, I think once again, I mean, it's because the infighting, which is so very symbolic. It was a very symbolic act of the Chinese history and also of a larger Chinese society. I mean, the infighting maybe at the workplace, in the society in the large, or perhaps in the family. And secondly, I think it is also very much in terms of a historical piece that which may tell us about the history and tell us about the true history which is going on. I mean, although some part of it is fictional, but then the characters are vividly portrayed and also acted out. Some of the very interesting part of the human nature.
Miss Liu, it's interesting because in it, you see so many stories that actually correlate with what's going on today. Anti-corruption story, for example, it's inside, right?
Yeah.
You got so-called foreign invasion, or you got wars in the border. That's also one of those stories you see a lot in the headlines of international news these days. You also see a very strong personality as the emperor as well, and also how the court system work. In fact, the old traditional emperor system works in the Qing Dynasty, which is the last feudal dynasty in China.
Yeah.
And you see how people dress, how people talk about, and how people interact with one another. This is so-called traditional, ancient, but it's so modern as well.
Yeah,
you know, some of the things that's going on then, culturally speaking, also relevant today.
So personally speaking, I really like this drama because it's not only about the aesthetic, like the overall great, magnificent look. The production value is so great. You can just get so much from the costume design, and you can also learn the Qing Dynasty history from that TV show. Another side, I think, you know, added to Professor Tan's point.
You know, the food, the clothing, the lifestyle in general, right? The cultural part of it is very interesting.
But you know, there's one question about that. In fact, what is actually in the story are not necessarily historical facts, according to most of the versions of history that we've been reading. It's not based on real history, but rather a dramatization version of it, some of the personal relationship as well. And you know, the people, how they speak, certainly in the TV drama, is not necessarily at all how people spoke then, but people are still fascinated by this apparent, as you said, historical facts. They want to look for relevancy today, about today. And they all want to look for the continuity of Chinese culture. They're curious about this. So Professor Teng, it's rare to see how one cultural piece, one cultural product, would actually satisfy all these curiosities about people today.
I think it's very hard.
That's an interesting point, isn't it?
Right. It's very interesting as well as challenging. I think I admire the producers of this very episode, of this very, very series. I think it is great revival of the traditional Chinese costume, the clothing, the food, the court etiquette, and also the general lifestyle that can offer to the rest of the world. I mean, this could be a classic example of Chinese soft power. I mean, we offer the world in terms of our great history, our great lifestyle, which had been so very popular back at the time. But of course, I mean, we are also offering some kind of self-critique. I see lots of concerns out there because...
Like what?
I mean, for example, it's all about women. I mean, women being inferior, women being struggling to survive and thrive in a very patriarchal society dominated by men, because every woman have to win and curry for the favor of that very emperor, the father of this general society, the patriarch almost of the universe.
Right. That is certainly one thing I would assume as a female viewer of that TV drama you might picked up.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like the producer and also the director put a lot of feminine touch in that leading role, which I really like, and I believe other audiences are having the same feelings like me.
Feminine touch. Exactly what are you referring to?
So, like what I said in the TV drama, when she loves someone, she would tell the person, and I think it's one thing that in traditional TV dramas we don't see, but in this particular one, we have it.
So characters are more expressive, vocal, articulate. I mean, this is a woman who is very, very bold in terms of expressing
Exactly.
But of
herself.
course, that is not part of history at all.
And it's not. And that's
It's
a
not.
fact.
And that is,
right.
it's fictional, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
So the question is, you know, this has been asked for a long time about historical drama, so-called, whether it's based on historical facts or not, whether that matter or not. We see that not only with Chinese ones, but also with the international TV dramas as well. Whether, you know, coming from the UK or the United States, some of the dynasties are certainly beautiful content for later manipulation for the story. But what do you make of that? Are historical facts really matter?
I think it's a matter of fact that it's the foundation to build up a story, and especially, you know, when as a film producer or as a producer, when you submit your content to SORT, you need to respect that history. So we, as creative minders, we would have that as the foundation, and then story is the key.
I don't think so. I think art needs to be really fictional, and art needs to be creative and innovative. And so in this sense, you can fictionalize some person, but then that person must, in a sense, carry the qualities or perhaps features that resonates with the contemporary audiences, like, see, now in China and in the rest of the world. I mean, resonance to me is important.
The other thing that you just both mentioned is the personality of the heroine, who is supposed to be the owner of the Yanxi Palace. She is actually the one with a lot of personalities, cut the crap, showing her love for people, and be able to speak out at times. But at the same time, she's pretty cunning in a way. And she knows how to work in a system that women are being still suppressed. And yet she managed, according to this drama, get to where she wanted to be. Yet when she got there, she already regretted in a way, because she also thought she deserved a better and more truthful life. So this is the complication, I guess, people have about one's life as well. But the question is about that too. What exactly are people picking up, especially young women like you, Ms. Liu, from this drama? Are they, in a way, understand that this is all fictional? Are they going to take what is inside the TV drama as a way to deal with people and deal with the system or the environment that they are having today in China? Of course, these are very different from what's going on in the dynasties, but still, are people taking those as tactics ABC for the office?
It's a great question, by the way, and in our office we discussed that every day.
Oh, you did?
We did. You know, for young people, because a lot of people in our office are quite young, and what we like to discuss the characters this person has is basically she knows what she wants at the very beginning, and she works that goal until the end. So. As a hero, we see that journey she developed for us, and the other points that we love about the content is that for young generation, we know what we can do and we fight for it. She did that in that drama as well.
Professor Tang was having a little bit of reaction over there. What about the words he just said?
I think it's too hard. I mean, our time has been too hard on you, on your generation, and the Chinese millennials. I think it is very hard in terms of getting a secure job. I mean, the main problem is the lack of security, the lack of the sense of security. And so you look up to these characters, but then be aware of that very character who actually try to act out the worst part of human nature. I mean, by using some of the most conspicuous and also scrupulous methods.
So-called shortcuts.
Right, shortcuts. This woman actually, in a sense, could possibly provide a bad example. I mean, and bad example means bad influence. I mean, I believe hardworking, our generations believe in industry and hard work.
I understand, Professor Tang, you are teaching American literature and culture in your university. I'm sure this will be part of the discussion when your new class of students are coming onto the campus. But we're going to talk about that a bit later. You know, it is not just the Chinese who are interested in this, but also, you know, the overseas audience, what kind of elements they are picking up from so-called historical drama like these. For example, back in 2015, the U.S. media giant Netflix introduced another Qing Dynasty palace drama onto the United States market. The company condensed the 76-episode drama Empresses in the Palace. It's called Empresses in the Palace, into a 6-episode miniseries. Take a glance at the trailer.
A young beauty will have a chance at everything she's ever dreamed. But
this drama depicted a young girl's coming of age in the Qing Dynasty palace, full of backstabbing and shaming. It was a phenomenal drama back then. It was so popular in China that its quotes were everywhere on China's social media. However, when it was re-edited and introduced onto the U.S. market, the U.S. audiences were critical, rating it only 2.5 out of 5 in the U.S. and 1 out of 5 in Canada. Some say the condensed version spoiled the story, but others say it's not just that attractive to an international audience. Of course, this is only part of the story we are hearing, but Professor Tang, this is an interesting phenomenon, that what is actually attractive to China's domestic audience, some of those could really lost in translation, literally and non-literally. Well, at the same time, what the Chinese are looking for in the cultural products might not be necessarily the things that the other audiences from all over the world are looking for. Of course, the other markets are also very different from one another, Professor.
I mean, this is basically the crucial point that we have to discuss in spreading out and communicating the Chinese culture overseas. I mean, one thing that I think we need to avoid is what we call the cultural specifics.
Yeah.
And cultural specifics actually refer to, for example, details in our history, some of the very detailed part of the history. For example, how does the court system works, and what does an emperor in a sense, say, and what are the manners of this very court etiquette. And so avoid cultural etiquette, make it universal, tell a general story about human nature, about this inner workings and infightings, perhaps. And so in this case, I think we should universalize. I mean, they simplify, offer a very simplified sort of a story plot.
I see. Well, you know, there are different people having different views. We want you to listen to some of the sound bites coming from some so-called foreigners in China. They have been watching on and off from China's TV of this special TV drama, the story of Yanxi Palace. Let's listen in.
I have watched Yanxi Gongle, a royal family and the relationships.
Many girlfriends and wives, that seems like a lot of work.
The expressions are much more strong.
A lot of eyebrow acting, if you know what I mean.
The way that they talk is very official sounding and very intense sounding.
He has to deal with all of that and then also run a country.
Concubines were trying to poison each other.
What they wear, their outfits are really fun. The long roby kind of things. Sometimes they wear the headpieces, right?
They were trying to get rid of one of the kids, or you know, one of them was pregnant, and trying to get rid of the baby or something like that. It was pretty crazy.
That's just some of the sound bites coming from foreign viewers here in China. They're quite versed, actually, about this TV drama, Miss Liu.
Yes, I didn't know that, there were some different opinions or like that. It's quite enjoyable.
Well, to a large extent, it defeats the whole purpose. I mean, China is now being perceived as a very, very poisonous place, dangerous court, infighting all the way down from the above court and to the society. And so, in this sense, I think we need to change a little bit in terms of offering the best of the best. I mean, this kind of infighting regarding these young women could be extremely negative.
Well, others say, well, this is TV rating. For now, let's also go to Mike Bastian, who's on the phone with us. He's coming from Southampton University. He's been watching the TV dramas on and off. Professor, it's such a pleasure to talk to you on such a topic.
Yes, it is, and it's another incredible production.
Your thought?
Very, very. Hello?
Your thought, Professor?
Yeah, I think it's a tremendous success. I mean, I echo a lot of the reasons for the success that the other panelists have given. I would focus more on the heroine, Wei Yingluo, and the fact that she is Zhou Lingho, and I think she really is projecting a lot of the values, the lifestyles that younger generations are now living, where particularly females, where they don't assume that the traditional role of the female, childbearer, family-minded, that they're far more single-minded, determined, self-confident, but at the same time, I think another reason for the success is this fusion of tradition with modernity. It still reflects this emotional attachment to tradition and cultural heritage that the Chinese have. And I would say that I think this could and should be a success in different languages as well. So I think its international expansion has only just begun.
Interesting. On the other hand, you also see TV dramas from all over the world, Professor Bastian. If you look at the Downton Abbey and some of the others that have been a great success in the international market, is the Chinese TV drama dealing with, so-called historical stories are really going international? That's a big question mark. Earlier, we have seen some examples, but not necessarily successful ones.
Well, certainly the opportunities there. I mean, my research has been telling me for many, many years that Chinese history, Chinese culture, ancient China, the dynasties, and the art and the literature that goes with that, so rich, that heritage, is of immense interest to the international public, and that's why China is such a large tourist destination. And Downton Abbey and other period dramas that you mentioned have been successful internationally, particularly America, because they play on British history and English history and tradition. So certainly the opportunity is there. The way it's produced, the way it's marketed, I think is very, very important. There needs to be very, very careful planning and supporting information around something like Yanxi Palace, which, if aired on its own, simply translated, might flop because it's not really couched in enough supporting detail.
Right.
If it was, I think it could be very, very popular in the UK.
Mike Bastian, thank you so much for being with us. I hope you're enjoying yourself watching those TV dramas. Talk to you later, Professor. Okay. I'll come back to both of you. We have less than a minute left. What is really the inspiration this is providing us? At least it has a huge audience base, and it's somewhat helping us to understand better about Chinese culture in its own fictional way. Professor Tang, before we go.
Well, I think this, once again, it resonates with the contemporary lifestyle of the young people. I think it teaches them a lesson. I mean, sometimes you need to work very hard to survive and thrive in a modern and contemporary Chinese society. So work hard, but work hard in a very positive way. Do not fight. Do not actually poison, backstabbing your colleagues.
All right. And last word from you. 10 seconds if you can. We're running out of time.
Be bold and fight for what you want.
Thank you so much, Teng Jimeng and Liu Lu. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that is all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more, try to find us, World Insights, CGTN, into your search engine, or check out our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Sina Weibo. From me, Tian Wei, and everyone on the World Insight team, thanks for watching, and tune in again next time for insights across China and around the world. The weekend is up. Have a great one, everyone. Bye for now. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us.